Hello, I am Yolanda Washington, founder and CEO of Seed Planters Empower Her Alliance, where our mission is to embolden young women from the African diaspora to discover their roots and their wings through cultural awareness by journeying to Africa. We walk the young ladies through and pay for the passport and visa application process. We provide the funds for the required vaccines to travel to Africa. We then journey with them to Africa and engulf ourselves in the culture, which includes us hitting the ground running by visiting a seamstress who takes their measurements and makes an outfit or two of their choosing and liking. We visit the Makola Market, which is like a huge flea market where we can get fabric amongst many other things to select fabric for the clothes that we will have made. Aside from selling fabrics, there I don't think there's anything you can't get at the Makola Market. From hairspray, hair gel, suitcases, microwave ovens, lights, fans, you name it, it's there. It's like one huge, chaotic, beautiful bazaar that you have to be a part of at least once. At least once. You must be able to say you've experienced it. They also sell food outside, but if you have talked to anybody about eating outside from the street vendors, specifically and particularly in the Ghana area, the rule is no street food. So, though there is street food there, we had been advised and we took heed not to eat food from the street vendors because our systems are not built for it. We visit the local orphanage. Our last visit was to an orphanage by the name of the Motherly Love Orphanage, and we supplied them with needed medical items, sanitary napkins for the young women, wound care cleansers, band aids, electric thermometers, and so much more. Things that we asked in advance of our travel there. What is it that they need? And the list was long and vast, and we provided what we could from that list. It was a blessing just being there. We got to sit and chat with the young people that were in the orphanage, and what we did was we sat together in a circle and just chatted about their visions that they have for themselves. We sat down and talked with the young people and encouraged them to dream big dreams because their dreams are connected to their purpose. Actually, most of our dreams are connected to our purpose. We wanted to definitely have that imprinted in their minds as well as their hearts, that your dream is connected to your purpose. So we also supplied them with jump ropes and journals. The jump ropes were so they could just have fun on their downtime, and of course the journals were so that they could record their dreams, their thoughts, their aspirations. There is a book in the Bible, Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 2, that states we should write the vision and make it plain, and so that was explained to them, and the description of why was provided. When we sat together with them, we sat in a circle. This concept was adapted by from me for me from a mentor, a husband and wife team, mentor who are mentors of mine. They run a nonprofit organization called the Sledge Group, that has seen so many young people through troubled times. So what we would do together is sit in a circle. The women had their own group, Sisters United, and the men were in a section of their own, the Sledge Group. And we sat and talked, and it was an open space. It was actually the young people's space. They had the opportunity to say what was on their hearts, and sitting in the circle, it just gives to the concept of no big I's and little U's. We're all one in the circle. They could express themselves freely in the circle, and we've seen so many people, young people, come in labeled troubled, but just needed a space and a place to speak what was on their hearts and get some guidance. So we did that with the young people, and it was very well received. We were blessed because not only did they talk with us, but they prayed with us and prayed for us. I traveled with a young lady, Serenity, who was my mentee at the time. And Serenity is a high school student who is an aspiring singer. So Serenity sang for the young people there. And when we were finished, they were standing in line almost as if she was a starlet, and just had one-on-one conversations with her of things that they wanted to talk with her and her alone about. And I thought it was just a wonderful experience for not just Serenity but for myself, as it was my first time in visiting Accra, Ghana, which is where we stayed. um, in addition to staying there, we visited the W.E.B. Du Bois home, which has been since formed into a museum. It was a very educational experience for myself as well as my mentee. We got to view his library in his home and actually see his graduate regalia, which was from Harvard University, along with many other personal photos of Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and so many other renowned people who had visited his home. Well, what really hit home for me, what stuck out for me, was that, he was a graduate of Harvard University. There is such a small number of African Americans that are in that specific school and that sector. It's not a great many African Americans that have come through those doors, and it was just an aspiration and an inspiration to see that W.E.B. Du Bois during that time graduated from Harvard University. We also visited the Elmina and Cape Coast Slave Castle. Both were, of course, they have the look of a castle, and the top tier of the space was spacious and vast. The bottom, where the slaves were held, is more of a slave dungeon. So when I hear the term slave castle used, I understand why we say it was a slave castle, because it looks just like a castle and is a castle. But the slaves' experience was in the bottom, in the dungeon, no lights, just everyone crammed and packed tight until it was time for them to take the voyage over the Atlantic Ocean. We visited the Kakum National Park and Canopy Walkway, where we walked the rope. There are 7 suspension bridges which form a very long, I believe it's 333 meters, canopy walkway, suspended up to 27 meters, which we were told is the equivalent of 30 yards above the forest floor, from trees that are over 300 years old. So we walked that. That was scary and exciting and fun. We did stop to take pictures. And when it was over, we took a picture under the sign that says that we did it. We survived the Kakum National Park walkway. It was quite the adventure. It's such a hike. It was quite a hike to get to the top level, to the 7th level, just to get there. So just hiking up to the actual walkway was a workout in and of itself. I had on a dress, but it was long and I felt comfortable, so it was fine. My saving grace were my Crocs that were rugged, and sneakers I think would have been fine, but sneakers, the feet are enclosed, and it was very hot. Their 80-degree weather is not like New York City 80-degree weather, so it was good to have Crocs on, because though they are a rugged shoe, and we were able to climb up comfortably, as comfortable as possible in them, they also had holes, so I felt like my feet had some form of ventilation. We visited a traditional hair braiding salon. a traditional African traditional. It's not like any typical hair braiding salon where, because the hair was washed, the hair was oiled, the scalp was massaged, and then the braiding took place. So my mentee got her hair braided. I'm super duper tender headed, so I decided not to, but she got her hair braided. She loved the outcome. Typically, what we would pay for box braids in New York would be close to $200, but I don't think I paid $50 for her entire hairdo. So that was quite the experience for her, and she couldn't stop taking pictures of herself. So I know she enjoyed the hairdo, and the women were very kind. There were not, sometimes when you go to hair braiding places, there are one, two, maybe three people braiding your hair at the same time, but that was not the case. One woman, I believe she was the shop owner, was the person to start and finish Serenity's hair, and we were both pleased with the outcome. Our final day was a fun day at the beach. Labadi Beach is where we went, and our driver, who traveled with us on all of our ventures outdoors, there was a small entrance fee to get inside the beach, which was fine. We sat down, we had a wonderful lunch. I believe I had shrimp and rice and vegetables, and it was all wonderfully prepared and delicious. I think Serenity had a burger, but my point is the food was excellent. It was good. We played games on the beach. We played a game which is a popular game in Africa called Awari. We bought chocolate from the vendors on the beach. There were ATV riders on the beach, offering rides for a price, a fee, of course. There was horseback riding on the beach, and as we saw the horseback rider, Serenity made mention that she had never ridden a horse, and I encouraged her to do so because I said not only when you go back after we went during the Christmas break, the Christmas New Year's break. So when you come back from break and you see your friends from high school, not only will you be able to say that you rode a horse, but you can say you rode a horse on the beach in Africa. So she got on the horse and she had a great time. I took pictures of her, I took video of her, and it was, she said she enjoyed it quite a bit. I could tell when she was on the horse that she was enjoying it, but I thought it was just a wonderful experience for her to have. There were other people, there were young, I don't I don't know that I could say they were teenagers, but they were young guys, young men that were blowing fire out of a tube of some sort and then putting the fire out by like swallowing it, or putting it out with their mouths. I mean, I typically don't like give tips for things like that because I don't like fumbling going through my purse. I feel like I'm a victim lying in wait when I do that. But no, he deserved that. I don't know what the denomination I gave him, but I definitely gave a tip for that because that was a sight for sore eyes. I do believe I videoed it, so at some point I'm going to share that video, but it was quite the experience that beach day. And then, that was our time during the day. As we got closer to the evening hour, around 5 or 6, we wanted to go to church. So we went back to the condo where we were staying and changed our clothes. And the clothes that we chose were the two of the dresses, one for myself, one for Serenity, that the seamstress made for us, which were so beautifully done. After trying them on, it needed a little bit of a tweak, which didn't take 10 minutes for the seamstress to make the minor adjustments, and those were the dresses that we decided to wear that very evening to watch night service, which is the last service of the new year. It's like we bring the new year in, we usher in the new year in church, giving thanks, singing praises, and boy did we. So, when we got to the church, our neighbor, the same neighbor who um, provided us with the beautiful wardrobe that we had, her sister was a member of a church nearby and she offered to drive us. So we drove with her to the church. We brought the new year in at that service. There was praise, there was worship, there was dance, there was music. It was it felt so palpable that it was surreal. It was amazing watching the young people dancing in unison, and it did. I don't know that they were part of a dance ministry or a dance team, but it was just wonderful to see them dressed and dancing. They sang songs with. It was a huge church. We were on the second level, but it was almost like stadium seating in the church, very modern, by the way. And they had projector screens from in the front of the church with the words of the songs that they were singing. So we were singing along, but it wasn't in English. I thought it was French, but I knew it wasn't French because I took some French in junior high school, and the words did not appear to be French. But I'm glad that I had that experience because I felt like God was saying, you need to be uncomfortable in some places because He's doing a new thing. And the new thing began with me taking the young person to Ghana and gaining those fresh insights and experiences. Um, After the church service, I did ask my beautiful sister Sandra, who drove us, what was the language, and she said the language that the songs were written in is known as Twi, Twi, Twi. So I sang some songs in Twi, but it was wonderful. It did not matter that the songs were in English. One, because they had the words up on the screen, but two, because it just felt so amazing and wonderful. Like it was truly a dream come true that first trip. So right after service, we drove to back to the condo where we were staying, and we literally had to throw our clothing into our suitcases in the dark, kind of, sort of, so that we could head to the airport because our flight was leaving that night. I say in the dark because Accra, and I'm sure other parts of Africa, but specifically we were in Ghana, they experience power outages quite often. And right as we were heading back upstairs to pack our things, there was a power outage. And so it's pitch black in the condo, and there was no alternate lighting. But our next door neighbor, the beautiful sister Sandra, she said that this is a common occurrence, so she let us borrow her lighting, and we packed our things because of her lighting providing us with aid and assistance. So we threw our things in the suitcases, hugged each other, and our driver was waiting for us outside so that we could head to the airport. Of course, we arrived at the airport early, a little over 2 hours early, especially because we were traveling internationally and we didn't want to, miss our flight or be in a long line and, have any unknown issues arrive. So we got there more than early enough. We got our luggage, taken and into baggage check. And then we went and sat near the gate. And I must say that I am a light sleeper most times, but my mentee had to literally nudge me to tell me our flight was boarding because I was so exhausted from our whirlwind week-long experience in Ghana. I was exhausted, but my heart was smiling. So this is the beginning of the journey for me, of my nonprofit journey, and I would love to take you along. Hopefully you'll be able to pick up some tips. I am not an expert or a guru. In fact, I would venture to say it's taken me probably 4 times longer to secure my nonprofit status, articles of incorporation, etc. 4 times longer than the average person. The start date for me of my articles of incorporation paperwork was November 30th, 2022. It took 16 months before it was actually approved, before I received approval status. Um, the receipt of status of approval for being incorporated took that long. I don't think that's the norm, but I think, part of it was because of the pandemic, and there was a state slowdown with almost all paperwork. Another portion of that is at the end they want your signature, and I believe instead of signing my name, I signed the name of the organization, or vice versa. Whichever it is, if it required the organization's name, I signed my name. If it requires my name, I signed the organization's name. Whatever it was, I did the flip of it. That took 7 months for them to tell me that. So once I corrected it and sent it back, I had to wait another long stretch. So I recommend, if you can, that you secure an attorney. I did not. The reason why is I had just enough money set aside to take the first trip with a young person to Ghana, and that's what I decided to do. I've been praying about it for a long time, and I received a pretty decent bonus at work, and between that and a tax refund from work was compiled, and that's how the trip came to be. I did not want to wait. I had been dreaming about just taking that first journey with a young person, for them to experience Ghana and everything that I had in mind and in store for them, as well as be a blessing to the orphanage and the people in Ghana. I just wanted to do it, and we did it. So I can mention, though, that there is an attorney named Audrey K. Chisholm who wrote a book, Start a 501c3 nonprofit that doesn't ruin your life. I saw it on Google, I believe. She was offering the book free of charge minus shipping. Of course, I paid for the shipping and received the book, and I got a lot of great tips. But again, at the end, after describing in the book all that is required for a nonprofit to begin, of course, the firm's information is included for you to give them a call, and they can get you up and running in no time flat. And I know they would have been able to do that satisfactorily, but I didn't have the funds at the time, so I decided to do it the long way. I must admit that I'm learning so much. I wanted to say I learned a lot, and I did, but I'm still learning so much, and I know there's much more to learn. So, going the slower route is not the worst thing in the world, has not been the worst thing in the world for me. I'm learning a lot about the process and about myself while it's being done. So fast forward to this week, I called the IRS on early May, and I wanted to inquire on the status of the 501c3 application, which was submitted 2 weeks prior. So there are two parts. There's the articles of incorporation. Once you receive that, then you can apply for 501c3 status by filling out the 1023 easy form if your organization is of small stature. And so I completed that. And when I spoke to the IRS representative, she informed me that it had been approved and I should receive the paperwork within 2 weeks. So I was excited about that. Where I had some reservation, or a very minute disappointment, is that I was told that the effective date of the 501c3 status is going to be backdated to November 2022, which is the original date I applied for incorporation. Now, normally backdating would be considered a good thing. However, there's less time to file for the annual form that needs to be filed for maintenance of 501c3 status. That form is called the 990 form. So yeah, it's great that okay, this has been backdated to November 2022, but now we're in 2024. So they are saying that I've been a nonprofit for 2 years. But what happens is, if that Form 990 that helps you to maintain your status is not filed for 3 years in a row, then you lose your 501c3 status. So I really have to, next step is file for at least 2 years so that I don't lose status. It's a lot of administration. Again, I repeat, if you have the means and the ways to have an attorney or someone help you along the way, please do that. Lessen your load. I must say, I'm learning a lot. And I'm not in a rush. So I'm doing it the long way, but I'm learning a lot along the way. And I'm not discouraged, because each step during this journey, my path has been intercepted by a kind soul who stepped in at just the right time to advance me to the next step. If anything that I've mentioned during this brief video has interested you, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, which lets you know when a new video has been uploaded. Thank you for tuning in to my nonprofit journey. Bye.